Hello, beautiful friends. I'm Layla May, and welcome to Elemental Connections, where we are giving voice to the unseen realms of nature. And today we have beautiful Diomira here to share about her amazing journey, everything she brings through and shares with everybody. So welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so honored to be here with you today, Layla. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So we were saying just a moment ago before we started that you were going to share an opening prayer for everybody, which would be so
Oh, I would love to do that. Yeah, we'll just set the energy and intention and sort of set the sacred space. So if we're all in a safe place to do so, I would just welcome everybody to close their eyes and place their feet on the ground or in a way that makes them feel grounded and connected with the Earth Mother. And together, I would invite you to just take a few deep breaths, breathing in the love and light that is all around us. And exhaling, exchanging our love and light with the world. Again, breathing deeply, knowing that as we do, the light within is being stoked by the light without. And we know that at the heart, we are all one. I would just ask that a beautiful golden white column of light descend over us and move deep into the depths of the Mother Earth, connecting with her heart. And then when it does, she responds in kind with her love, sending her love up through the ground and meeting us where we are, to create a sacred space of love, peace, and clarity. And we would welcome into this sacred space all of our guides, sacred allies, and teachers, all of the fairy realm, the elemental kingdom, and the nature spirits and Davic peoples of the land where I am, and the land where Layla is, and the land where all of you are. And we give thanks for this connected partnership that we can come together in and express our hearts and our love for all of creation. And with that, we say, so it is.
Oh, that was beautiful. Thank you. What a
Thank you.
wonderful way to start.
I just love setting the energy. It's just like we see all the peeps. We're like, oh hey, everybody's with us. Hey guys,
Yeah.
we can just feel the magic.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. So yeah, I would love to dive into finding out a little bit about you, about your background, your story, how you came to connect with the fairies, and yeah, whatever you feel to share with us would be beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Well, like we were talking about previously, our stories are so like twisted and curved and have so many layers. So I'm just trying to really tune in and see where the perfect place to start. And I guess I will start at the beginning of this, which is, so obviously for a lot of different reasons in my childhood and stuff, I was kind of propelled to search. I just had this burning desire, this impulse within my heart and soul to search. And part of that was due to unhappiness and a challenged childhood and upbringing. And other parts was just something innate within me. And maybe they were both a little bit of a perfect storm to really get me out there and a catalyst to make me see what I could see. And so I started really just scouring ancient texts, and I learned a bunch of different languages, and I was just really on a mission. I was totally in mission mode. And I always had a really deep connection or desire for spiritual knowledge. It was just something, I was a weird kid. So this was kind of if you would, the foundation for how the magic started to happen. And of course, I always knew that fairies existed. that was just normal. And it wasn't until I started going to school and stuff that I realized that everybody else didn't realize that truth, but it was indeed a truth. And so I was going to find them and I was going to interact with them. In fact, it infuriated me to no end that I knew that they were there and I couldn't see them.
Yeah.
So so this was really challenging for me because I could feel and I could know that I didn't see them. I wasn't like a gifted little clairvoyant kid or anything. So fast forward that, and I begin to, as I say, my just unhappiness and discontent really sets me on a journey, and I start traveling very, very avidly from a really young age. 18, by myself, I just save up all my money, go traveling. So what happened, this all began with a really deep fairy initiation into I would say, the deep, deep depths of underworld, not the airy-fairy excitement that the novelty, but really the deep depths of the underworld. And so I bought a plane ticket. I went to the UK, and I really didn't have any plans. I just had a month that I had to be back in London to fly back out. And I had no plans. I didn't know where I was going to go. Could go anywhere in Europe. The world was my oyster. And so I ended up somehow just magically unfolding, went down to Brighton. Don't know how I got there, went down to Brighton, went everywhere. And what happened is I found myself in Glastonbury. Now, I did not know at the time all of the Arthurian connections. I didn't know anything about anything. All I knew is that when I was on that bus and riding, my heart was just beating with the heart of the land. I was just so connected with everything there. It was like, I knew that this was home. This was my home. And I had returned to Avalon. And so I got to Glastonbury, and I got there. I almost got lost, but a ghost woman appeared out of nowhere and helped me find my way. That's another story. And so so the first day that I woke up in wherever I was staying, and I set out, and I knew I was going to go climb that tour, because from the moment I laid eyes on it, something hypnotic just stoked my heart fire. And it was just like, I must go. It was like a spell. I must go to the tour. I must go to the tour. So I climbed the tour and I got on top, and something within my heart started like clamping down. And I thought, what is this that I feel? So I went through the little tower. I sat myself on the ground, and there's like this metal circular thing up there. I don't know what it is. And something guided me to really connect with it. And as I did, I followed. It was almost like if you've ever swum underwater and you see like the coral and it's all connected below. That's what I started to see. It was like this interwoven sort of circuitry. And so I started to follow it like a curious little mouse, and I was following it down with my consciousness, down, down, down to the land. And I get to the bottom, and there is this strange seal. It's like the seal. And I just had this sense or this feeling that the seal was actually like a dam, like a beaver's dam. It was actually stopping the flow of some sort of energy. And so how I knew to do this, I can't tell you. I wasn't trained at the time. Training came much later. I just did what my heart told me to do. It was like I had a divine appointment, and I had made it there. So I begin to undo the energy to the seal. And I feel this support around me, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm undoing the energy. And as I do, all of a sudden the top blows off. This energy comes spouting up from the land. These big explosions occur on the ethereal plane, of course. No tourists were blown in that moment. Nobody had any kind of it was very peaceful on the outer plane. And so all of a sudden, this being of profound light, this shining one, great being that was almost angelic in nature, but was not angelic, arrived and said, I knew you would come. And he said, thank you for coming. We have been waiting. And in a series of visions and images, he began to show me he was a being that some refer to as Gwyn ap Nudd, although I wouldn't understand that until later. And he basically had shown me that something had occurred with the land to where there was some sort of disharmony that was, somebody basically had worked with the land energy in not so great of a way. And so what it did is it created some sort of inversion, and it really had prevented the land from completely expressing itself. And as a result, the fairy kingdoms, all over the world, globally speaking, had sort of become disjointed. It was almost like Avalon was the headquarters of this fairy energy.
That's exactly. I had one time a little while ago, and I was trying to go home from somewhere else down the West Country, and I couldn't not go to Glastonbury. Like, I literally, the car ran round, and I had to go back, and I went up the top of the tour, and I sat there, and I was like, oh, I'm delivering a report to headquarters. It's so funny.
Yes.
And that's this like big download to the like, yeah, so funny.
Yes, so it's totally like the headquarters. And so when this energetic sort of impression was made, it sort of disconnected. It created this disconnection in the fairy world. And so again, I learned this in bits and pieces, as we do. But what I was told in that moment was that that basically this great, now that this energy had been released, it was almost like this inner freedom was able to occur in the land. Now, this was back in 2006. And so this really sent out ripples in the land that I couldn't even really possibly know at that time what I had really done. But what I came to find out is that I had undergone my first journey into the deep underworld, the fairy underworld, and whatever was set before me, I had overcome and passed. And as a result, I had, undergone a deep fairy initiation, and that would set really my course for the next 10 or 15 years. It was like whatever that was, I had said yes to, unbeknownst to me. And then the rest was history. And so the things that happened after that really started to play out in bits and pieces. And kind of like you were sharing, Layla, it was like, they started in like this sort of, sporadic sort of way. But then a windfall really started to happen where it was like full on. And in 2008, I really, connected very deeply with the fairy people over in North America in the mountains. And they gave me a directive. They explained the cycles of time. They explained the cycles of the ages. They explained that we were moving into this age of awakening, this golden light, and that basically everything would just go a lot more peacefully if humans could get with it, get with the program. And so they said it in a much more eloquent way than I'm stating it now. But what their point is that they really actually wished to co-create with humanity. They wished to come back into brother sisterhood with the fellow humans, and that indeed they actually were our next of kin. They were akin to us, and we had just, as time went on, we had separated from our connection with the fairy races. And in order for us to all move to the next octave of consciousness and expansion and realization, that we actually had to come back together. And then from there, we could all grow together to the next experience. And so would I help them carry this message? And of course, you do what one does in that moment and you say yes. And I said yes. And that really began while the initiation occurred several years before, that was really my conscious moment where I was now at a certain level of consciousness, and I was able to consciously say, yes, I choose to work with you and to bring forth this knowledge and wisdom. And so that, it was very interesting. That was a huge turning point, because that created this galvanized energy. There was like this energy behind my conscious intention. And there was like this a lot of, I would say, potential, impregnated energy. And yet I didn't have the know-how, how to direct that, how to make that any kind of thing, anything in the manifest reality. Like, I'm not going to go around on speaking tours saying, like an evangelical new age fairy priestess saying, hearing, the fairy people have spoken, and this is what they say. I mean, people would label me a crackpot. So what does this look like? How do I work with the fairy people? How do I bring forth this message and still be in a very grounded way about that, and still do it in a way that makes sense to people and is going to be actually effective, not just to the light workers, like the new age light workers on the planet, because the new age light workers on the planet, they're already moving forward. They're already kind of moving with their dharma. That's not who really need to hear the message. So I needed to be able to connect with, mainstream people. So that was a journey. And I spent the next year in a lot of deep meditative work and channeling, and a lot of trial and error of, I would get these visions and then I would have to try to translate that into something that made sense. And that was a process. It was a process. And so what ended up manifesting was, it came through, was this beautiful healing modality that was not just a healing, but actually meant as an activation to help really activate our light bodies and bring heaven and earth within us. And I do that using something called Faery Light and crystals connected with starlight, but also sacred geometry. The fairies taught me about sacred geometry.
Me too.
So they were the ones, and I don't know it the way that some of the people teach it, like Drunvalo and stuff, all left brain and everything. I mean, I'm aware of the Merkaba, I'm aware of all these things, but that's not how I work with them. I just work with them as sacred form, and I bring through the form. And so that was one way that it manifested, working with the people within these sessions. And then the other way that it manifested is it began to come through in a set of teachings. So they call them the ancient fairy wisdom teachings, or this is how Faery Light Mystery School was birthed. And it was really the deep fairy mysteries of teaching people not how to just connect with them, because connecting with them is a novelty. It's really connecting with them. Why do we want to connect with them? Because the connection, when we make that connection, our hearts open and awaken, and we remember the truth of our being, and we remember heaven on earth. And that is what they can help us with.
Yeah, that's so
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because they hold the vision of eternal paradise within their hearts. And so when we connect with nature, when we connect with the spiritual realms of nature and with fairy, then we connect with the actual, what paradise consciousness is, because they're still living within that eternal reality. And so that's, and then it helps us bring that through, because we've just forgotten. I just say this is all a case of spiritual amnesia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of the journey. That was really my story. That was really how it started out. It started out with this directive, and then really taking a lot of the visions that they would show me, a lot of the pieces, and then saying, well, how can I make this an experiential practice for people to really have, not just have the knowledge of this history and this lost history and stuff, which is important, but to really be able to embody this in an experiential and practical way, to bring it through and be able to make magic happen in our lives, to begin to live it and make it a reality.
Yeah, amazing. Oh, that's so exciting. And so you now, this is what you do for a living, isn't it? I mean, this is
yes, this is what I do for a living. So I work with people all over the world, and I help them awaken to their, what I call their sacred earth purpose, what a lot of people will call the divine purpose. But I call it a sacred earth purpose because, again, I really think it's not simply enough to awaken your purpose. You have to be able to translate that into living it, into stepping on your path of purpose and really living it each and every day. And how do we do that? Spirituality can't just be something we do on a meditation pillow or in our, a lot of us are closet spirituality people. Like, it's an area of life. Spirituality isn't an area of life. It's our life. It's all of life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's one of the things that drew me to you so much. It was, that integrated living of this knowledge, and you are that light. You are that integrated, like, fairy wisdom. Yeah, it's so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's so exciting to hear other people's stories as well, and kind of go, God, there's so many parallels. This journey is I think it just helps to reinforce, like, the truth of what we're speaking about, and that's part of why I want to do this, is just to kind of go, look, there's all these people and they're all having this experience. This wisdom is coming directly out of the earth. It's that wisdom. We don't need to go out to find it. It's that, like you're saying, the awakening the heart and going in and having that experience of the wisdom of spirit here on earth.
Yes, and I have to reel myself in here, because I could go on get on a soapbox about this whole transcendence fever that everybody's, the sort of craze that has been sweeping through the spiritual community. And I joke around and say 2000 years ago, everybody was trying to get to heaven. Now everybody's trying to get enlightenment. And it's like, it's everybody's trying to ascend and attain. And when really what our purpose is, at this time on the earth, we are being called to embody the light, to be the light. And in order to be the light, we can't be afraid of the darkness. We can't say, I want to go up in these transcendent realms and ignore the shadows that live and are part of me. I have to be able to honor and dance with the shadow that is me, and really look at it in the face and say, I love you too. I love you too. Let's dance. And that's how we're going to really do this and begin to weave the light. And the fairy people, they are master initiators when it comes to initiating us into the full breath of our being, not just the transcendent light frequencies, but really going into the depths and the tones and the shades and colors that is the deep earth wisdom and is the depths of our soul. And so that is why I think that this path is so valuable. And I feel that working with the fairy people, whatever you want to call them, the fairy people is really a missing key, a missing part of so many paths of healing and transformation and seeking our purpose.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's like this missing link, which is almost a taboo. It's like, and yeah, it's like, how do we talk about this stuff without seeming to be mad? Because it's become the stuff of fairy tales. Like, people really, like, I was even talking to my niece the other day, and she had put glitter on her tree, and she created this whole fairy thing, but the fairies aren't real. And I was like, no, told, this is your imagination, and it's crazy. And so I just feel, it feels like it's still quite a taboo subject, even within the spiritual realms, and spiritual communities. There's a lot of people that just don't know about it, I guess. They don't know necessarily that everything's so alive. I don't know what the...
Exactly. And this is one of the challenges I found from early on, is that when I was starting to teach and starting to do healing work and all this sort of thing, is that I was working with the people that I would draw typically would be women, usually 50s or 60s, who had been on the spiritual path for a really long time, and they had just always been interested in working with fairies or had a connection with nature or something like this. And I was pretty content in my little bubble of safety, and okay, I'm safe here. I'm not stretching beyond. And I got, how we get knocked upside the head by the fairy people. And I was looking to get some new material for a new workshop. And they said, why should we give you anything new? You've done nothing with what we've given you.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, what do you mean? I have been teaching and it's that silence. I'm met with that silence where you really have to kind of tune into what you're saying. And that I have been healing and I have been teaching, and it's that silence. And it's like, okay, I understand. Basically, what is really being asked of us is, how do we really, like you said, how can we bring this out into the world and still bring it out in a way that we are heard and that it can empower other people, and yet we don't want to go too far off the path of using science and everything to try to prove and provide evidence, because while there is that, I feel like then that goes off of our path. We go off of our path if we spend all of our time trying to convince and prove and create an evidence-based, report to the world of why this is important and why this is real. Then we lose the magic of what it really, and the gifts that it brings. So I early on was met with these challenges, and one of the things I had to do is I had to learn how to actually talk to people. And that sounds really funny because I'm a social person, but what I mean is I had to learn how to really connect with people in a way that was talking to them in their world that made sense, as opposed to coming from my world, which is working with fairy people and all these great gifts. And so one of the things that I learned to do, and I've really just been trying to master this in the last, I would say, year or two, is okay, what are some of the problems that people are having? Well, people are unhappy. People are having a lot of health problems. People are having, they can't get their money in, you know, we have that whole spiritual, oh, money is not spiritual. Okay. So we have that whole issue. We have all these regular, everyday, ordinary problems. Okay. So let's look at these problems. Well, I know that when you work with these tools and techniques and work with the fairy people, these problems go away. These problems heal themselves, because what is at the core of all of our problems, but that we have disconnected ourselves from all our relations, from the world around us. And so that's how I began to shift everything. And it's totally transformed the way that I present what I present to the world. I'm still presenting the fairy teachings, but I'm not starting with, this is what the fairies say, and you need to work with them, you know, because this is what needs to happen, and, you know, all this doom and gloom. Instead, I talk to them and I meet them where they're at. What's going on for you? What's happening in your world? Oh, I've got this, I've got that. Okay. You know, and really listening to them. Okay, so what do you want? Oh, I want this. I want joy. I want to feel free. I don't want to be burdened by this stupid fear. I'm so afraid of the unknown. I'm so afraid of this. I don't want to feel that anyway. Okay. Well, I have a bridge that I know when you walk across it, you're going to get from this point to this point. And this bridge, it just happens to be the fairy realm. You know, so at the end of the day, I don't start with the fairies anymore. I start with them. Yeah. And that has really, it has changed everything I do, Layla, because now I have to look, because people really want to know when you're in pain, when you're upset, and when you're not happy with your life, you want to know how you can change it. That's all you really care about. You might care about the world, but you really just want to feel better. And that's okay. We have to start with us. And so I've just learned, this is like, it's been such I can't tell you what a difference this has made, because now I just don't start with the fairies. And because then it's a natural connection. Well, if everything's spirit and spirit lives within us, spirit lives within everything. And if spirit lives within everything, then we just need to remember how to be a part of that once again and put ourselves back in the web of life.
Oh, that's a lovely way, isn't it? And it really brings people back to themselves.
Yes, exactly. It brings people back to themselves. And it also gets people, because the other thing that I find, the other challenge that this work brings is it draws a lot of people that want to escape their world, but they don't want to change it. Oh yes, I want to go play in the fairy realm. The novelty, the glamour, that was the glamour that they always talked about in the folk tales, the risk of the glamour. And that was just saying, it's important to make sure that you have both. You have to be able to use and expand into the spiritual realms and touch spirit, but you have to be able to bring that back into a way that is really going to transform your everyday life and thus the world. And so that has also been, that is a roadblock, I think, that I've come to, and how to get people, you know, to, and not really get people to change, but how to present another alternative. You know, is it empowering? How long do you want to escape for? Yeah. And is this a path to escape, or do you want to heal and transform and get the show on the road?
Nice. Examples of what kind of things you use for people, any sort of techniques like?
Well, so yeah, so basically we use a lot of vision work. So what I do is I do a combination of things. So one of the things that we do is meditative journey work, and that's to really begin to allow the heart to really move into the space of the heart and let the heart lead. And so backing up, before we get into the vision work, ground rules, number one, of course, there are no rules, everything's just right. But if there were guidelines, the first thing that we have to do is we have to make the long journey from the mind to the heart. And I don't mean that in a cliche new age way. there's a lot of scientific stuff out there that's talking about the heart, and the heart is the organ of perception. And so there's a lot of tools and techniques that I use to get people actually what I call more perceiving from heart consciousness.
Yeah.
Once we perceive from heart consciousness, then a lot of other things become easier that seemed like they weren't really possible before. That's number one. Then the second thing that we do is we work with imagination. We really begin to use imagination because imagination expands it uses the same muscles and the same faculties as the psychic sacred senses. So when we use imagination, we're really creating a bridge, and we've atrophied those senses. And so we're just creating that bridge back to begin to reawaken those senses. And that's the second piece that I bring into with people. And then the third piece is direct experience with nature. I tell people, don't believe a word I say. I'm going to give you a tool and you go out and do it. So I teach people this tool. It'd be kind of hard to do it on the thing, but I teach people this tool where they can connect heart to heart with any aspect of nature. Mm-hmm. And once they make that connection, they can receive information from that aspect of nature that is pertinent to their life at that time.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah. And so it's that wisdom that helps them awaken.
Yeah, and it's so simple, isn't it? You know, it's not complicated. It's just having the courage to go and do it, and put yourself in that place. And yeah, that's really gorgeous. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And I do you want me to teach a tool on the thing or on the video, or do you want to move beyond that? And it's up to you.
What feels good? I don't. Yeah, why not? Like, let's empower people. You know.
Okay.
If that feels good to you.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the tools that I teach everybody, this is really basic. I'm just going to say that a lot of probably traditions do this, and there have just been some nuances that I've added to this. I call it the Earth Sky Attunement Meditation. Mm-hmm. And it's really powerful for a couple of reasons. It does awaken the heart, and it puts us into that heart frequency. And the way that it awakens the heart is because it really awakens the sacred sky energies and the sacred earth energies within us. And once that happens, the heart awakens. And we incorporate a couple of things. So if you're a good visionary person, then use those visualizing muscles to follow the meditation that I'm going to guide us through in a moment. If you're not a visionary person, go into the feelings of it, because there's a couple of places where I'll prompt you to really get into the feeling, and the feelings are just as powerful of a doorway as the vision. So use what you got. And so, okay, so that's all I'll preface it with. So Earth Sky meditation, here we come. All right, so if we and I'll do the mini version. Okay, put our feet on the floor and sit up straight if possible, and close your eyes again. And just take a couple deep breaths to really remind us of that sacred space that we came into at the beginning. Breathing deeply. And with each breath, bringing the conscious awareness to the heart space in the center of the chest. And noticing how the heart begins to grow and expand with light or with energy. And I would invite you to bring into your field of awareness your absolute favorite place in nature. Just make it absolutely magnificent. And now it's your chance to really jump into the sensory experience of this place in nature. Begin to imagine yourself walking within it. So feel the way that the atmosphere feels on your skin. Begin to feel the way that your feet feel as you're walking upon the ground. If you have your shoes on in your mind's eye, maybe take them off so you can really feel that tactile sensation of your feet touching the ground below you. And now become aware of the senses, the smells, the aromas that this place has. And what sounds greet your ears? What do you hear in this nature place of magic? And lastly, what do you see? Look around you and just notice the colors, the shades, the vibrancy. And allow all of these senses, all of these things to be just fully engaged. And as they are, you notice this overwhelming sense of gratitude within your heart for this place. This place is so beautiful. It's so present with you. It lives in your heart. And just begin to feel that overwhelming sense of gratitude build and grow within your heart space. Really feel your appreciation for this place, for Mother Earth, and for how she manifests in so many forms of abundance and bounty. And feel that light, that energy in your heart begin to grow and build with gratitude and love for Mother Earth. And as it does, use your conscious intention to send it down into Mother Earth, all the way to her center, her core, where her heart beats. And as it reaches her heart, feel that pulse reverberate up through the depths of the earth and meet you where you are. Feel it coming in to your feet chakras, all the way through your legs, and moving through your entire body. And notice how your energy now begins to shift and align with the energy of Mother Earth. Breathe into that new frequency that is so natural and so earthy, so nurturing, so loving. And feel how it gently stokes your heart space, your heart, to awaken. Take a breath. And now, once again, I want you to bring into your mind's eye the expansiveness of the heavens. Imagine the stars in all of their beauty, the bright sun that gleams overhead. Imagine the moon, and begin to think of all the planets. And just allow yourself to be lost in this childlike innocence and awe. Let the wonder begin to stoke your heart, and you feel your heart come alive and grow and radiate with this sense of awe and wonder for Father Sky. And once again, just as your heart expands to overflowing, use your conscious intention and send that love light up into the heavens, all the way to the center of our solar system, Father Sun. And as it reaches, you feel the sun's pulse, and the light moves forth through the heavens like a ray of sunlight comprised of thousands of stars. And it rains down through the atmosphere of the earth all the way to where you stand, raining a shower of starlight all the way entering your crown chakra and filling your entire being with this sacred divine Father energy. You feel the strength and power within you and the expansiveness of all it is. And you feel your heart stoke. Once again, your heart's sacred fire is stoked and ignited. And you feel the dance of Mother Earth energy and Father Sky energy within you, and how they both reside in your heart space. And notice how these energies begin to integrate. Notice how you feel more alive, more connected, and more you. Thus, the Divine Mother and Divine Father are born within you. And here you are as the Holy Child. Breathe into that sacred knowing. Breathe it in and know that when you open your eyes, you are carrying that energy out into the world and letting your light shine brightly. Breathe and anchor that energy in. And when you're ready, open your eyes.
Mm-hmm. Yummy, 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 yummy.
Try doing that and staying in a bad mood.
Yeah, right.
So what I would encourage everyone to do, how you take this a next step further, we can do it on our meditation pillows, or where this really becomes really exciting is you do this right before you're about ready to, I don't know, go for a walk in the park, or go for a walk in the woods, or on a field or something, and just do this. It can be very quick. You can do it in a few minutes when you're just doing it yourself. And the more you do it, what it does is, it seems really simple, but the feelings are really important for you feelers out there, because the feelings actually really begin to open up the heart, and they begin to make this real for us. It's an all sensory experience. And it really does, if we were to have a little wonderful machine, you would see that your frequency shifts. And so what this does is it almost creates like this circuitry, this current, that it puts you in the flow that all of life is vibrating within. And when you get into that flow, that's when magic is commonplace. Magic and miracles really happen from that heart-centered awareness. And we can be out in nature and we can walk through and just not pay attention, or we can go into the space and suddenly we now have an expanded experience of reality. Mm-hmm. And so I would invite everyone to try this today, today. And I'm challenging people. Try it today and go out. Everybody has a patch of grass. I know everybody can find a patch of grass, even in the most concrete cities. I lived in London, I lived in Chicago, and I lived in Atlanta. So I know everybody can find a patch of grass, and you can really have a different experience of reality. And then it starts with us. It starts with us.
Absolutely. I love that. It's the plugging in. That's what I was hearing for a long time. It's like plugging people in to the true reality. You know, it's like bringing us back to what's really true, and then we get to experience the magic.
Yes, exactly. And then so many things become just so much easier. I find that children are really easy to work with some of this stuff, because you don't have to go through all the left brain stuff of adults want to know the how and the why, and they need all the mechanics of it. And children, you just give them some simple exercise and they just do it without all of the barriers of the mind coming. And so you know, people want these really advanced technologies and techniques, and you know, there are those, and I share those and all that kind of stuff. But to me, this is the most important one, because if we don't begin to approach things, whether it's the simplest thing or the most advanced spiritual technology, from our hearts, all this is going to be is compiled knowledge, and we're not really doing anything with it. We're not embodying it and making it real in our life.
Absolutely. I so agree with that. And I've been doing that myself. I kind of got to a point where I was like, I'd kind of forgotten for a while that I wasn't embodying it. I don't know what had happened. And I was like, oh my God, I am just accumulating knowledge, and this is not serving me in any way. And now I do a similar meditation I do every morning. It's like I start my day plugging in no matter what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly. You just plug in, and that's honestly, and it's almost like the more we do it, it has a cumulative effect. Then the more we find we're in that space. Yeah. Oh, I love it. And you know, Layla, one of the things that I've noticed in my work not recently, since all of time, is that people now more and more are being contacted, connected with by the elemental kingdom, by the fairy realm. And I do feel like a lot of us are being called by them, you know, and I say that it's not those of us who are special, it's those of us who answer the call. That's all it is, because they're calling a lot of people right now. And really, we're just talking about the other side of who we are. We're just talking about nature, which is us. And once we connect to that, we'll realize these beings are not really a whole lot different from anything else that we work with in spirit. And yet they are unique, and they do have their specific gifts. But this is just so important right now, and people are really finding that they have deep fairy connections. And the question is, how am I going to manifest that? How am I going to make that into something where it's not just me sitting in my bedroom and having all these amazing experiences with them? How am I taking that out in the world? Am I an artist and I'm painting their energy and I'm really painting with them? Am I am I teaching? In my case, I'm teaching and I do healing work, and that's how that manifests. But there's so many ways. Even I find people that are working in traditional jobs, uh, executive positions in companies and stuff, when they begin to bring this into their lives, they up level and shift everything. You can be in business and be bringing the realm of nature consciousness in as a partnering aspect to begin to create experiences and outcomes within your business that are much more expanded and much more comprised of many more miracles than you could have ever thought of.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens because it's a more holistic experience. It's a more balanced way of doing it. And so I just would encourage everyone, if you're feeling the call, you don't really have to talk about it if you don't want to. Like us, we're encouraged to talk about it. And that's that's definitely a choice. But you can just be working with these beings, bringing this into your life, into your everyday world. And it can be wherever you're at. It meets you where you're at, and it amplifies and enhances anything. And I think that a lot of people, I'm meeting a lot of people that have had, this is like an, what shall we say, kind of a woo-woo thing that I'm about to say. But there are a lot of people that I've met, myself included, that have had an experience, but whether it was a past life experience or something like that, where they remember being a fairy. They remember, they have that memory. And I hear a lot of people talking about this longing in their heart to return to that. And what I have to say about that is, let us not get caught up in the idea of returning to the past, but instead let us remember why we made the conscious choice in the first place to cross over from one experience of consciousness to another. And that was why we are here at this moment in time on the planet Earth, which was to bring heaven and earth for those of us that remember that paradise consciousness, that we can now bring that through and manifest that. We can help our brother and sister humans. We, as bridges, we can help them remember it too. Mm-hmm. And that is why we are here, not to regress and go back to the past, but to really live and move forward with this new expression so that we can all go together.
Beautifully said. Yeah, we're really integrating the experiences and the memories rather than going back to them. And I did touch on that on my last interview.
Really?
Yeah, she spoke quite a bit of her memories of past lives with mer people and elven energies and fairies, and the way she spoke about it, she's so just embodying it, and it was so, those aspects were just integrated in her life now. And she also works in business and is open and supports people to connect to the fairy realms as well. So I love this feeling of bringing these energies through into business right now. It seems to be a subject that's kind of making itself known to me. It's like somehow it wants to come through. I don't know what form it's taking, but it's taking these conversations at the moment.
Yes.
It's not like, it's not a date. It's not something you go and do on the weekend. It's like, this is like you were saying that earlier. It's integrating it into our lives. It's the experience of being human. Actually, to be fully human is to embody this.
Yes, that's the and that's what I mean. It's just I'm so kind of beating that drum right now because I just feel like so long it's like, okay, I want to choose to work with the angels or the fairies or whatever it is. It's spirit. I want to be spiritual, right? And then we go off into these little spiritual, people go to ashrams, people go to whatever to have this spiritual experience. But I really feel like we're really being asked to bring that into every aspect of our lives. And that's really how we're going to create this interweaving of these energies. It's like, I want business people working with the fairy realm.
Yeah, yeah.
I want, healthcare professionals in the medical industry working with the fairy realm. I want, this is what I see, because one of my teachers said something a long time ago, and it really stuck with me. And she says, she was talking about some, there were a couple of rebellions that were kind of happening and people were tearing down some systems and stuff. And she said, we don't always need to tear down a system. Sometimes we simply need to come into a new relationship with it.
Mm.
And that really struck me because it was about everything. How do we come into a new relationship with life?
Mm-hmm.
How do we come into, it doesn't have to be the baby out with the bathwater, as they say.
Yeah.
How do we really just up level what we're already experiencing and bring spirit into that?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really resonate with that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's
I love it.
exciting. Yeah. 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 And it's accessible then, isn't it? It's not, it's just right here, right now.
It is accessible. It is accessible. And so many things have so many different layers to them. Everything doesn't have to be taken at, what I love about working with the fairy realm is that they tend to work with our psyche, and they tend to work on a very symbolic level.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the kind of, the language of mythology and folklore and all of that. If we really look at the layers, this is about that soul training. It's about working with the language of the soul, and the fairies can help us renew that. We've taken so much story and so much imagination out of our culture, and there's definitely there is a void within each of us yearning for that deep, meaningful essence of life to be returned to us once again, so that we can really have meaningful experiences. And the way to that is to really begin to integrate these parts of ourselves. And that is done with working with the symbol language and the fairy people and the subconscious and all of this stuff. And so I just want to say that people tend to think that everything has to be so literal. Even when you go journey or you do anything, everything has to be literal. And the thing is, we just have to be willing to trust. We have to be willing to allow the symbols to come, and then to be able to explore them with an open heart. And because this is a way of being that is really going to help us come back into that harmony with the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. It just feels like that just kind of like wraps it all up into this beautiful container. Yeah, that's so lovely. So I have one kind of, I don't know if this can be little, but but I'm really aware, before we started the interview, we spoke the dragon energy was, and I can just feel, I'm just feeling this dragon energy.
I was feeling it too.
Really?
Just now before you said
come on.
it. Yeah.
When are you gonna
talk about me? Hey, excuse me. Wrapping my tail around you right now so you remember. Well, I said what I just said. I was prefacing that. I was really I was, yes. So yes, the dragon energy, and I do talk about this in my I wrote a couple books, but they're fiction. They're written as fiction fantasy so that people could take them on a lot of different levels, but they're not actually fiction. So I'll just say that. And the dragon energy is something that is really wanting to come forward at this time. It has been re-emerging and reawakening from the deep inner earths, from the deep recesses of our psyches as well, because one is not disconnected from the other. So from the deep realms of the inner earth, the dragon energy is wanting to come back, repopulate again the surface of the earth, the conscious reality, our waking reality, and it's wanting to come at this time. And what I have found is that the dragons are so real on so many and they're real and they meaningful on so many levels for us. And when we begin to simply contemplate what the dragons were, how they've been changed and demonized over time, how we've gone from fearing them and what that journey has been like. And I don't think it's much unlike the whole patriarchal, interesting fearing of the woman and fearing of the witch and all of this sort of thing. But they've been feared, and the time has come for us to shift, again, our relationship to them. Mm-hmm. And as we begin to, as people are standing forth and saying, wait a minute, let me just explore this history that was written in these books about them being scary, mean, human eating things. Let me explore this. What's happening is a reawakening, and they are coming. I have been honored and blessed to be present at the reawakening and reemergence of 4 dragons upon the earth. 2 took place in Glastonbury, several years apart, and 1 just recently reawakened in the Shenandoah Mountains, which is the Blue Ridge Mountains on the east coast of the United States. Mm-hmm. And 1 was reawakened in Wales. And I will be part of the reawakening of the dragon energy in my Ireland thing that I'm doing this fall, that I'm bringing people to do. And so this was really exciting because I had a lot of things planned out. I've been working with the fairy people, but there was something that kept coming to me. I couldn't let go. It was the myth of the legend of St. Patrick. Something was bothering me about that. And I often use mythology as a doorway into parts of ourselves and also into deep transformation for the planet. So there was something about this legend that was bothering me. And finally, one day, 6 months into having planned the trip and people are already signed up and stuff like that, I wake up with the vision. And it was this, that St. Patrick drove out the snakes was just really, again, 1 layer of wisdom that really said that what he drove out was the dragon energy, was the deep earth wisdom, was the deep feminine, ancient feminine. So these were all things that was saying, that the masculine energy drove that out. And so now is a great opportunity to come back. The dragon energy is asking to be, again, restored at so many parts of the planet. So we're going to do a ceremony to, again, remember collecting back those snake energies back into the land of Ireland and restoring that ancient feminine wisdom, the ancient earth wisdom, the stone of destiny back to the planet, back to Ireland once again. So that is something huge. The dragons are really coming forward right now, and they have so much earth wisdom. And it's not about looking at the people who drove them out, because goodness knows we were probably some of them at one of our lifetimes. Mm-hmm. So this is not about being upset with St. Patrick or any of the other whatever. In fact, this is an opportunity for healing. Yes. For all of us who have ever participated in anything that was less than loving, to really say, I'm standing forth now to right the wrong that was done and to heal this and, again, move through this karma. So this is really about setting, even in this case, St. Patrick free, if he chooses, if the being chooses, and really just setting this energy free upon the earth.
Mhm.
And so this has been something I've been involved in for the last 3 years, I think, is really helping the dragon energy, almost like a midwife, supporting it to reemerge on the planet. And I know there's many, I've been meeting you and several other women I've met recently that are heavily involved, exclusively of each other, not even knowing it, but heavily involved in the reemergence and reawakening of the dragon energy on the planet.
Yeah.
And of course, it really is, again, symbolic because it's also about the reawakening of the dragon energy within ourselves.
Absolutely.
The Ida and the Pingala that go up the central channel, and when they come together and reawaken once again, now we've awakened and we've self-realized.
It's the Kundalini energy, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. The Kundalini energy. And when it's at the lower, this is again the flip side, the shadow. At the bottom, we have the snake energy, and it's the lower nature, the reptilian brain. But when we harmonize that and when we come into new relationship with it, now all of a sudden it's the snake that comes out of the pharaoh's crown, tiara, and now it is actually a symbol of great enlightenment and wisdom, and we can stand in our true power.
Nice. Oh, getting some ISIS vibes going on there.
Yes, yes.
Nice.
So that's dragon energy in a nutshell.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Oh, good. I think, yes, that feels complete with those.
Does that feel good?
That feels good. I was so intrigued as to what you were going to share. And yeah, for me, it's been a really interesting journey meeting with the dragons. And because I didn't, until the beginning of this year, it was because I think I originally met with the dragon energy in Tintagel, in Merlin's cave. Gosh, when I was about 18, it's a long time ago, and I didn't realize it was real. It was only the beginning of this year that I really got that they were elemental beings. Somehow I just hadn't got that they were elemental beings. They were still in my consciousness. They were still in the realm of fantasy. And then when I was in Wales and meeting them, and since then I've got this dragon energy with me, and yeah, it's so exciting. And what they showed me that they're the guardians of is just so exciting. It's it's so exciting.
Yes,
Yeah.
you said it. They are the guardians.
Yeah. And as we build that relationship again, and I just see this golden energy with them, this golden earth energy. It just feels, it's very yummy.
It is so yummy. It's delicious. Aren't you just ready? I mean, I'm ready to dance with everybody in this energy.
Yeah, it's so alive. Yeah, and isn't that so right for the whole elemental kingdom is just wants to have fun. Yeah. Party and yeah,
it's just, we really have to bring that joy back through the heart. That it's the joy, it's the fun, it's the dancing. We really can, so much can be healed, I think, through that childlike innocence and joyful wonder.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
What a juicy conversation. Thank you so much. I'm so honoured to have you here and for you to share everything that you've shared with us today. It's just beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Layla. This was such a great honor to be here, to be interviewed by you, and to just share my experiences of the elemental beings, the fairy people, and the dragon ones.
Thank you so much. And I will put a link to all of you've got a couple of websites, and are you fully subscribed for your island adventure? Or
yeah, I have a couple spots left. I have probably 4 spots left. So I've kept the trip at I've kept it very small because I did want to create and really have an intimate experience for everybody to really experience deep transformation and just that personal yummy intimacy that we get. And the other thing that is kind of like Diomira signature is, I always like to say that spiritual austerity is so out of style. And so this is a spiritual luxury trip to the nines, because we really, as light workers, we really need to remember what that is to be supported and feel abundance and feel. So if anybody that's struggling with money, I say, yes, come on the trip, because you're going to feel that absolute opulence. That's everything, is everything from the food. I'm a foodie. Everything from the food to the luxurious accommodations, while we'll be out in the land and touching the sacred sites. And I'll be sharing all kinds of tools and techniques for people to really activate and awaken those ancient energies at these sites so that we can restore them to the land. And we'll be doing all that during the day. And then when we return to our opulent surroundings, we're going to feel like royalty and supported and just in that delicious, yummy decadence that really is heaven on earth.
Oh, I so want to come.
Come play.
Yeah, and then actually that was something that I felt so drawn to when I saw your website and I saw you offering that, and I saw the level of luxury that you were bringing on board with your trip. But it just really, it really touched something in me. It's really beautiful. Yeah.
It's really unique in the spiritual industry, and that's really what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do that. So yeah, so that can be found. My main website, if anybody wants to connect with me, is fairylight.com, and that's FAERYLIGHT.com. And Ireland is right there on the front page. And if you, I do have a free gift for anybody that subscribes. You can subscribe to my little messages and newsletter and stuff like that, but you get a free gift, which is really about it's 3 magic keys to awakening your sacred earth purpose here and now. And just if you feel like you're meant to do more, be more, and you're ready to shine your light, then this and a couple emails that come with it afterwards are really just sharing tips and tools for you to do that.
Yeah, what a beautiful sharing.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh,
this is such great work you're doing in the world, Layla. I'm so just impressed and honored, and this is extraordinary. Thank you for doing this work.
Yay, just my honor and my privilege. Oh, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I just want to say thank you to everybody for watching again, and look forward to seeing you in another week with another beautiful interview. So much fairy light to all of you. Blessings. Thank you.